Howdy folks, today I want to talk to you about why you may want to hold on to some of your physical media, specifically music. I then want to talk about my humble vinyl collection and show you a few of my favorite albums. Okay, so just getting this out of the way, this is a hat that I got when I was on a trip down to Texas earlier this year. I did the big 72-ounce steak challenge in Amarillo, well, I almost did it, and I decided to pick this up on the way to New Mexico. I couldn't find a Santa hat, so I decided I would just wear this. If you're watching this on Christmas Day, I hope you guys are enjoying your holiday off, and if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas as well. Now let's get into the video. So why should you maybe consider holding on to some physical media, specifically music, in 2024 and onward? Well, the number one reason is just to have control over your music. You're most likely going to have much less music than if you had a Spotify account, for example, but you're going to actually own that music and you're going to be able to do whatever you want with it. If you have music on Spotify, all you can do with it is listen to it online, download it, listen to it offline. That's all you can do. You can't move it to an iPod if you want to. You can't burn it on a CD and play it in your old car. You're pretty much limited to what Spotify allows you to do with it. It's just the same if you were to do Netflix. You don't really own it. We're just renting it as long as you pay the payments. But what about if you buy songs online? Like maybe you bought them on iTunes or something like that. The problem is that pretty much all of the media that you purchase online via digital download has some sort of copy protection in it, so you're not really able to do anything with the files that you want. At some point, this could be taken away from you. Now, we've seen this example as well when people purchased items on their Sony PlayStation products from the Discovery Network. Sony stopped having a deal with Discovery and recently just pulled all of the purchased content off people's PlayStations. And I think that pretty much just sums up the danger of owning digital download only copies of things like music and movies. You just can't control what companies are going to do, and you don't truly own the file. The only way to do so is to purchase a physical copy and back it up if you choose. Back when I was younger, I had tons of CDs. I had probably 200 or 300 CDs. I worked at a CD store, so I was able to get them pretty cheaply, and I had amassed a collection that I was pretty happy with. But once Spotify came out and I realized that if I paid a certain amount per month, I'd be able to have way more of a collection than I ever had before or could ever really dream of having, then I just kind of ended up selling all my CDs off in order to just, get a little bit of extra money in my pocket. I was young at the time. I didn't think about maybe why that would matter. And now I feel quite regretful, like 8 years on, that I didn't hold on to them or at least choose to back more of them up before I got rid of them. Thankfully, my favorite 40 or something albums I held on to, and I actually just this week started backing them up and putting them on an old iPod as well as backing them up on an external hard drive, just because I want to make sure that those albums, my favorite all-time albums, are backed up and I can guarantee that I'll have them for as long as I'd like. Now, my reason for collecting vinyl, and maybe a lot of people's reason for collecting vinyl, is kind of a nostalgia thing and then just a desire for more analog experiences. There's an argument for vinyl being more like maybe high fidelity or something like that, but I don't really like the vinyl I buy definitely isn't. It's usually kind of nicked up, cheap copies of things. I don't mind the crackles and the pops. I enjoy that experience. And a lot of times you can find records that have never been moved over to platforms like Spotify. So you can get some kind of interesting copies of things that you may not be able to otherwise find online as easily. And though it is a little bit more complex to do, there's maybe some software involved to split up the tracks, you are able to back up vinyl quite easily. And then you are able to keep it safe on a hard drive or whatever you choose. Streaming services will pull songs, they'll raise prices, they'll just do whatever's best for their bottom line. They're not ultimately thinking about the customer first, they're thinking about their investors, they're thinking about profit. So I think even if you keep a streaming service, it's important to curate your favorite songs, your favorite records, your favorite albums or whatever, and keep it backed up somewhere, because then if you get rid of Spotify, if Spotify becomes too expensive, if they lose a contract with the artist you like, then you don't have to worry about it. An example would be with Neil Young, who decided to stop doing business with Spotify, and suddenly you couldn't listen to any Neil Young on there anymore. Thankfully, I have Neil Young's greatest hits on CD, and I've loaded that onto my computer, so I had some Neil Young backed up, but all of those sweet albums no longer have access to them very easily. So now without further ado, I'm just going to show you a few of my favorite records that I've collected over the years and just talk about them quickly. So I usually get a lot of my records in the bargain bin. I'm not somebody to buy like new vinyl usually. I think I've only bought like maybe 2 records ever that were actually brand new because they're usually just too expensive. Like 40 or 50 bucks per record is just not in my price range, especially for like the amount of records I'd like to own. So I try to find records for between $2 and $10 if I'm lucky. Sometimes I'll pay as much as 15 or 20 money, but pretty much $2 to $10 is my sweet spot. So this is one that I got today. This was a Johnny Cash record. So this is just a compilation of Johnny Cash's material. Some of his best songs, in my opinion. I love the song Big River. And one of my new favorites actually is Rock Island Line. Another one that I picked up actually today as well is Frankie Lane. This was $2. And this has actually the theme for Rawhide on it. I like a lot of these old Western songs. I grew up watching shows like Bonanza and Hopalong Cassidy, and music like that is just really fun for me. This is one that I actually got from my grandma. It was one of her records. It's Roger Miller. He does this song called King of the Road, which you might have heard. Again, this kind of music you can often find in really good shape in the bargain bin. If you look for really old music that's like a little too old, like it's not like 70s, it's pre to that, and it's not like Beatles or Elvis or anything like that. Any of those artists that were kind of cool at the time but weren't, again, like 70s and up, you can usually find their albums quite cheap. I also pick up a lot of like random folk and fiddle music and stuff like that from Canada. So when I'm traveling around with the show that I work on, I try to find things like this at Value Village. This is a really nice fiddle album. Okay, next up, this was one that I found in Newfoundland. I love this album. That track, 6 Days on the Road up there, that is a sweet song. It's been covered by a lot of different truck driving artists, and it's definitely one of my favorites. So we've kind of been on a vibe lately for all these. The next one's also that. It's Cattle Call by Eddie Arnold. Now, Eddie Arnold is just a master of yodeling. He's a great singer. Cattle Call is an awesome song. I actually heard it in the trailer for this movie by Foster Huntington called Puke, and it was actually about people who collect owl pellets. It's a documentary, and yeah, I love this song. Okay, next up, we're switching genres. This is one of my favorite bands of all time, maybe my favorite band of all time. This is an amazing album. This is Kiss Alive 1. I mean, they say it on the album. I love Kiss so much. I know the guys are kind of like a bit here and there in their personal lives, but their music's awesome. People give them crap for like maybe not being good musicians, but they're better than most of us, and their music's actually really, really catchy. And then the final record that I wanted to show off today is actually Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Number of the Beast was like probably my first like foray into metal when I was like in elementary school. My grade 8 teacher loved Iron Maiden and he showed this to me. He went on the Power Slave tour and he gave me the tour book, and I still have it actually. They just have these galloping riffs and everything's just fun. It's not like scary metal, it's like exciting, like Skyrim metal in my opinion. So not only are these fun to just listen to on the record player themselves, but I have the option if I want to back these up. I have a USB turntable, so it's easy to connect it to my computer and then rip the songs that way. And then I know that I have a digital copy if I want for longevity as well. So there's a few of the reasons why you might want to collect physical music in 2024 and onward. I hope you guys are enjoying your holiday break. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me about your collections if you think I'm crazy or if you're right along with me. I'd like to hear from you in the comments section. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.